Completing a Stuart triple expansion engine part 2, looking more closely at the mechanical condition. This image shows the engine sat on the bench just as I received it, and it's in quite good mechanical condition. Maybe I can see things that other people miss. Have you noticed that the cylinder isn't shaped properly on the left hand side at the top? And also I can see that there aren't any gaskets fitted anywhere on the engine. And I think there's a sheared stud on the low pressure steam chest cover. And also I noticed that there are some very tiny blowholes in both of the steam chest cover castings. I think what I'll do first is oil up the engine, because I'm going to see whether or not it runs. It's quite interesting to think that the original builder probably did exactly the same as this many years ago. I'm being quite thorough with the oiling. I've speeded it up a bit to get through it. I'm trying not to miss anything. I did miss a couple of the eccentrics, but I went back later to do them. In fact, in this part of the clip I'm doing it now. With any type of engine that has moving parts, lubrication is very important. And more so with the steam engine because the working parts are exposed and it's a total loss oil system. The motion work on this engine is very well made, and by motion work I mean every part that moves. And on a triple expansion engine a lot of the parts move. Some of them are inside the engine and you can't see them. So it's very important to make sure that the cylinders are very well lubricated. I've just found another part I've missed. I cannot stress how important it is to make sure everything that moves has a coating of oil. The only way I can oil the cylinders currently is to inject some oil into the steam chest of the high pressure cylinder. This oil will find its way from the high pressure cylinder to the intermediate cylinder and then to the low pressure cylinder. I'm curious to see whether the engine runs, and the only way I can find this out is to connect my compressed air line and supply the engine with some air. A triple expansion engine is not self-starting, but in this clip I'm not trying to start it. With the air line attached, I'm trying to make sure that the oil goes through all three cylinders. All the valve gear is completely loose and not fixed in place, so I think I'll have to find a way of holding the drop arms in place to see whether it runs or not. I found a piece of mahogany which I could put behind two of the drop arms, but it wouldn't slide in all the way along because the drop arm that connects to the reversing mechanism was in the way. I turned the pressure of the compressed air up to 40 pounds per square inch, and here I'm trying to make it go. Unfortunately it doesn't run because the valve timing is incorrect. It nearly goes, but not quite. When I push the drop arms the other way to put it into reverse, it doesn't even try. So the valve timing is well out. To be honest, I really was expecting far too much. It would have been nice had it have roared into life, but alas not. This missing stud looks ominous. I've not been inside it, but if I was a gambling man I would say that the stud has sheared off in the cylinder block. When I push a small bolt into the hole, it stops dead when it should go into the cylinder. Drilling out these small 7BA studs is a real pain. The steel that they're made from is actually quite hard. I'll show the repair process in a later episode. The reversing mechanism puzzles me. The shaft that's sticking up in the middle should have a thread on it, but both the shaft and the hole it goes through are 3/16 of an inch in diameter, and as the drop arm describes an arc, I think the hole in the drop arm needs to be bigger. I will eventually thread the 3/16 shaft, and the shaft will screw into a threaded phosphor bronze barrel. What's this? The engine suddenly started working. In this clip you can clearly see how loose the valve gear is. Each and every one of the drop arms needs to be fixed to the main rod, and the fun part will be securing the drop arms to the rod. I have my small Bosch electric drill firmly clamped to the crankshaft, and I'm rotating the engine to allow the oil to find its way through all of the cylinders. Here you can see what's turning the engine, and I tightened the chuck so it didn't mark the crankshaft, and you can see how much effort it's taking to remove it. Earlier on I mentioned about blowholes in the steam chest cover castings, and here are the ones in the steam chest cover of the low pressure cylinder. This is purely cosmetic, but it's bothering me. In the fullness of time I will probably make a new steam chest cover for this end, using this one as a pattern. Here is a question: how does a triple expansion steam engine work? I will try and explain it in a simple and non-technical manner. Triple expansion engines run very differently on steam to compressed air, but for workbench testing, compressed air is very convenient. And here the air line is connected to the inlet of the steam chest of the high pressure cylinder. Then what happens? After it's done its work, the exhaust from the high pressure cylinder connects to the steam chest inlet of the intermediate pressure cylinder. And then when the intermediate cylinder exhausts, that exhausts into the steam chest inlet of the largest of the three, the low pressure cylinder. In case you didn't understand that, I'll do it one more time. This is the air line. This is the exhaust pipe from the high pressure cylinder, which connects to the intermediate cylinder's steam chest, and then the intermediate cylinder's exhaust connects to the steam chest of the low pressure cylinder. When I phoned Stuart Models to order the castings that I need to finish this engine, I was speaking to Andy and asked him if I could show the general arrangement drawing on one of my videos. Now I have written permission from Stuart Models to allow me to show the general arrangement drawings. This set of drawings came from my other Stuart triple expansion engine built by Ronnie Mall. This should give you some idea of what's going on inside the engine. 3 pistons, 3 cylinders, all different sizes, and each of the 3 pistons has 3 cast iron rings as shown on the drawing. It's at times like this when I'm really glad I'm not making it from scratch. This second exploded view shows a couple of the slide valves and the reversing gear, the crankshaft fitted with the flywheel and the other piston. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Stuart Models for allowing me to use these drawing images. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, gaskets are not fitted anywhere on the engine, and all of these inlet and outlet pipes leak very badly. I propose to set each cylinder's valve timing separately, and these exhaust/inlet pipes have to come off anyway. 1 or 2 of these small bolts were very tight, and this one was just too tight. It was seized solid in the hole. When I used a screwdriver on my modified nut spinner, the bolt sheared off. I'll show how I fixed that in another episode. It's normally the last bolt that shears off, not the penultimate one. The final bolt was tight, but it came away cleanly without breaking. These bolts are only 7BA size, which are very small. Stuart's 7BA studs that are used on this engine are much stronger. These bolts, thankfully, are just soft, mild steel. Now I've removed the piping, I can run this engine in single cylinder mode. And it seems to run fine. The valve timing isn't right, and it took a while to start it, but then it was okay. Especially since it's dragging the intermediate and low pressure pistons in the cylinders. Because the slide valve's not in the right position on this high pressure cylinder, it's blowing a bit, and in no time at all it exhausted my compressor. And the other thing that I haven't shown is the number of times the silicone rubber pipe blew off the inlet. I thought it would be a good idea to modify this steam union by recutting the thread 32 threads per inch on one side, which is not a good idea, but it's okay for testing. Now I can connect a proper piece of piping, which still connects to the silicone rubber, but now that is pushed over the coned union on the end of the short piece of pipe, and with the help of a cable tie it can't go anywhere. I won't speak over this next bit, but I will at the end. When I run miniature steam engines using compressed air, this is the way I lubricate them, and a little oil goes a long, long way. What about a bit of slow motion? And that is it for part 2. I'd just like to say, as I always do, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.